All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I would thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Now, on this particular broadcast has been something that has been brewing for a while that I wanted to do, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough information to talk about, and Monday really sealed the deal for me. Now, on a previous broadcast that I did, so-called sins of the black father, I wanted to change the narrative, so to speak, on how the mainstream sports media, their coverage of black fathers of professional athletes. Because the narrative that you always hear is that the professional athlete or the black professional athlete came from a fatherless home. He rose through humble beginnings. The mother worked 2-3 jobs. He stayed with coaches. He came from a broken home, and through athletic ability, because of a white savior family, this athlete was able to go to college, and they took care of this particular athlete through college, and now he makes it to the professional world, and now he's on top of the world despite not having a father. And that's a narrative that they push in the NBA and the NFL. And I talked about how there seems to be a demonizing of the strong black father who makes choices and makes decisions that's in a child's best interest, which goes against what these companies say, that goes against what these teams say, that goes against what these leagues say and do. And I believe I did talk about fathers like LeVar Ball, Richard Williams, Cecil Newton. One can even talk about Floyd Mayweather Sr. And the one person that I did leave out of that broadcast was NBA superstar and great LeBron James. Now, if you don't know LeBron James' story, he another one, came from a fatherless home, rose from humble beginnings in Akron, Ohio, and we know the rest is history. Now, and of course, I can do a whole broadcast on LeBron James about a lot of things that he has been criticized on. I feel has not been warranted. I think the mainstream sports media, definitely, I think they nitpick every little thing that LeBron James does, but that's for another broadcast. I'm talking about this broadcast, LeBron James as the father, and the excellent father he is, so let's go and put it out there, the excellent father that he is, his relationship with his sons, and the disgusting act that was committed Monday against his oldest son. Now, LeBron James, I first started noticing the criticism about LeBron James, the relationship between him and his son, when his son started playing high school basketball, and sportscasters, namely Skip Bayless, was making it a big deal that LeBron James was in the dunk line or the warm-up line or the layup line with the kids. And people in the mainstream sports media had the nerve to say LeBron James was making it about him. And I felt that was the absolute dumbest thing to ever say. You tell me what child in America would have an issue with LeBron James if you're on the team with LeBron James' son, and LeBron James comes in your layup line and your warm-up line and does layups and dunks, you would really feel that he's making it about himself. I know those kids are probably in awe of LeBron James. And just the fact that people try to spin it that LeBron was making it about him and not about his son, I felt that was unwarranted criticism, and quite frankly, I felt that it was just wrong. And then there was another clip of LeBron James was on the court while the game was in action. Either he was excited, cheering on his son, but he got emotional. He was getting into the game, and yet people talked about that. And my thing was, yes, he's a parent, and that's what a lot of parents do. And what he did is no different from what every other parent does. You have parents that fight coaches, fight other players, and I just didn't agree with that particular criticism of LeBron James being active in his son's life. Because again, they love to push the narrative that he came from a fatherless home, and that now he is too much involved in his son's life, so they try to criticize him for that. And I had my serious issues with that months ago. Now, then LeBron recently, he did a story, and I was watching, where now his son is playing for a big-time basketball program named Sierra Canyon. He's playing with the son of his former teammate Dwayne Wade, and Sierra Canyon is a top-flight basketball program. It's a pipeline for future NBA players. And I remember LeBron, now I'm talking about these games are broadcasted on ESPN. So I remember LeBron was on ESPN almost explaining his support of his son, almost explaining why he's so into it the way he is. And I'm a LeBron James guy, and let's go on and say it. Here at Chin Check Radio, we are big fans of LeBron James. And I almost felt that LeBron shouldn't have to explain a damn thing to anybody about the relationship with his son, why he's involved, why he gets emotional, why he's emotionally invested in his son's life. That's his son. And I, for one, felt almost that he didn't have to explain anything to anybody about the relationship between he and his son, why he is the way he is. But I know LeBron, he's building a brand. He is, probably the most global athlete in the world, maybe if you take away Ronaldo and them. But to me, he didn't have to even do that. Clearly, this man is involved in his kid's life. He posts his, or used to post his weekly Taco Tuesday dinners with his family. So again, here you have a black professional athlete married to a black woman, his high school sweetheart, that, by the way, people love to say that when black athletes get money, all of a sudden they want to run to a white woman. He is married to this woman. They have a beautiful family together. They clearly spend family time together, eating dinner and Taco Tuesday, and he goes around the table, and the kids are screaming out Taco Tuesday, and his wife, looking like she doesn't want to be involved, and LeBron is laughing and stuff like that. That, to me, instead of people making it, well, LeBron James is about being LeBron James, to me, no. That's what we need to see more. More videos, more pictures of happy black families spending time together. Why, for some reason, is that looked upon negatively in American culture? I would never understand that. But if you look at every television commercial nowadays, and I don't have an issue with interracial dating, I don't. You love who you love. But I've been noticing that there's been more and more commercials of white husband, black wife, children. There's a recent commercial of the wife was deciding which early flight to take. She take an early flight or a late flight because one child is sleepy, one child is a morning person, one child is a night person. Deciding what to do with the husband because he's coming in, he's clumsy. And while she's in the tub, the dog comes and she decides about pet care. So now you have this family where the black mother is deciding the best trip or vacation to take with the family. And I've been seeing more and more commercials about that. So that's the agenda that you're pushing out to the mainstream. And that's fine. But when it comes to a black family, mother, father married, raising kids in the house, all of a sudden it becomes, well, it's LeBron James being selfish. It's LeBron James being about LeBron James. And yet people don't look at that and strive to be that, which goes back really to the Cosby Show. Let's go back to the famous Cosby Show back in the 1980s and early 90s. Cosby Show, family. You have a doctor, you have a lawyer, you have children, and yet people try to say, well, that show doesn't represent true African American culture. So you tell me what TV shows now represent true African American culture? Those love and hip hop shows? Those so-called reality shows, we have a bunch of C, and I would even say D-list celebrities absolutely just running around and making complete asses out of themselves. Is that actual television? If you go back and look at those episodes of The Cosby Show, they dealt with those same family issues. You had the oldest daughter. You had the oldest daughter who married a guy who had outdated views on women. That was a clash between him and the girlfriend's family that later on became his wife. I'm talking about Sandra and her husband. You had that was Elvin, played by actor Jeffrey Owens. You had Denise, the other daughter Denise, who was kind of quirky, and she left and got married, came back with Martin, and next thing you know, she came back with a stepdaughter, which is Olivia, that was played by Raven Simone. So that was something the Cosbys had to deal with that. Then you had the oldest son, Theo. Theo was a normal teenage boy going through the motions, doing silly things. If you remember the first episode when he made the statement that I brought you in this world and I take you out, and Theo was a typical teenager, was getting earrings. One time he threw a party in the house and they destroyed the whole house, and Cliff was going to take Theo to the army, and Theo had this girlfriend, and it was just the same normal teenage stuff that families deal with. Then you had the daughter Vanessa. Vanessa one night went to Baltimore, Maryland, and Claire Huxtable was getting ready to kill Vanessa. And of course, remember when Vanessa got married to the older guy, Dabnus Bricky, and that caused a little bit of conflict, and eventually he was accepted by the family. Then he had the youngest daughter, Rudy, and Rudy came along, and she felt neglected as the youngest child, and Cliff and Claire kind of let Rudy get away with more stuff than he did with the other child. So to me, the Cosby Show actually did represent a true African-American family, but yet people now they say that show did not adequately represent African Americans, because you're not going to have a black family where the father's a lawyer, the father is a doctor, and the mother is a lawyer. So to me, let's look at these shows on television now and tell me, are black people better off or worse off what they see on television? Just throwing it out there, because what you see are all these love and hip hop shows and Basketball Wives and Real Housewives and people out here and folk just making a fool out of themselves. So, and again, I go back to LeBron James and his family. Now, what really did it for me was this past Monday, January 20th, 2020, on Dr. King's holiday. Let me read this article from ESPN.com titled, LeBron James disappointed after disrespectful move as fan throws debris at Bronny James in defeat. Now, folks, Bronny James is 14 years old. Sierra Canyon's game on Monday at the Hoop Hall Classic was briefly stopped after someone in the crowd threw a piece of debris in the direction of LeBron James Jr. It is unclear what was thrown, whether food or a piece of trash, but it hit James as he was waiting to inbound the ball from the sideline. The referee immediately stopped the game and summoned a nearby police officer, played and resumed. LeBron James, who attended the high school game before his Los Angeles Lakers faced the Celtics in Boston, responded on Twitter after a clip of the incident went viral. In his post-game availability after the Lakers lost to the Celtics 103-107, the elder James took it a step further. I didn't see it or hear it, actually. While I was on the opposite side of the floor, I did see the referee stop the game and stop the inbound, and the cop came up there and he said I didn't even know what happened until the video evidence showed me when I got there. It's just disrespectful, and it was a little kid too. I don't know how old that little kid was, so I don't know if he learned that on his own or if he learned it at home, whatever the case may be. It's disrespectful. I wonder how old that kid is, if he's around Bronny's age or Bryce, the other son of LeBron James. I like to see them try that while they're paying attention. The officer asked members. Now, here's what bothered me. The officer asked members of the crowd to help identify the offender, but didn't receive much cooperation. Now, I crack up because clearly there were adults in the crowd. I know at a high school game, yes, there's a lot of kids there, but I know there were adults in the crowd, and yes, there's cell phones all over the place. The officer later told ESPN he couldn't figure out who threw the debris. At the next stoppage of play, a referee came over to the officer and asked him to keep an eye on that section of the crowd. No further incidents occurred. So you mean to tell me that I know there were people sitting in the crowd, I know people had cell phone cameras out. Now all of a sudden, when somebody trying to figure out who threw something at a child, you can tell me that it's another child, but what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. And to me, that speaks to a larger issue of American society, how this type of behavior is going on. The fact that nobody spoke up and nobody said anything, and if there were other children involved, these are the same children who film fights in high school bathrooms and post on Instagram, the same high school children who post fights in the cafeteria and post on Facebook Live, the same children who post fights all over the place, and the first thing they do is to whip their cell phone out. But now, when it comes to fess up, to admit to a wrongdoing, nobody knows anything. And you mean to tell me there were no adults there present to now, if it was children, that whole section should have been corralled since nobody knew nothing. That whole section should have been corralled, and all of them should have been removed or expelled from that arena or stadium. And to me, where were the adults there? Because LeBron James seems to be the only adult. And of course, LeBron, like he always does, he takes the high road. And I always commend LeBron for that. But to me, where were the adults in that crowd? Because to me, because that's despicable. And if you watch the video, yes, you see some type of debris strike LeBron James Jr. in the back. The referee stops play, summons the cop over. So to me, where were the adults? There was some adult there. And the whole section should have been removed. Names should have been taken down. What school they belong to, the whole section should have been held accountable. Because again, if we're throwing debris at high school games, and then you wonder why that we're throwing stuff at pro games, take a look at the Malice at the Palace. Everybody's in an uproar about the recent brawl between Kansas and Kansas State. And to me, this is even worse because again, no one has been held accountable for this. There's no accountability on behalf of the student. And again, we do live in a world where as a parent, you're responsible for your child. So if that was a student, that student should have been identified, or the whole section where he was, it should have been identified. It should have been contacting parents, because that is not what you do at a sporting event, and somebody should have been held accountable. But it's just, to me, where we are sinking further into despair as a society to be throwing stuff at a 14-year-old child. And to me, that's sad and that's heartbreaking. I was going to say to you, LeBron James, keep doing what you're doing. You're raising a great family. I think your son is going to be a damn good NBA player. And I believe it's something, and I remember something you said on your show, The Barbershop, where you built the legacy for them. Now it's up to them to take control of it. So clearly, you not having a father, you're clearly involved in your son's life. You definitely wanted to see your son play before you played an NBA game. So just keep what you're doing. It is something that I wanted to speak of because, again, I don't see the outrage by the mainstream media, but yet everybody's weighing on the Kansas and Kansas State game where I got college kids fighting on the basketball court, and of course everybody was talking about that. So this is just us speaking about these issues, and we're going to talk about the things that the mainstream media does not wish to talk about. So until the next time, this is Chin Check Radio signing off.